Orders of the day.
Item number 21, Order M30, second reading of Bill 30, an act to amend the Ammunition Regulation Act 1994 with respect to the sale of handgun ammunition. Ms. Hunt.
Member for Scarborough-Guildwood.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move second reading of Bill 30, an act to amend the Ammunition Regulations Act 1994 with respect to the sale of handgun ammunition.
Ms. Hunter has moved second reading of Bill 30, an act to amend the Ammunition Regulation Act 1994 with respect to the sale of handgun ammunition. Pursuant to Standing Order 98, the member has 12 minutes for her presentation.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Before I begin my portion of this afternoon's debate, I want to take a moment just to thank everyone who has come out here today in support of this very important discussion around Bill 30, an act to amend the Ammunition Regulations Act 1994 with respect to the sale of ammunition. I have to take a moment to just say thank you to these people because they've taken time out of their busy schedules to be present, and I truly appreciate their willingness to have this conversation because it's not always easy. I just want to recognize Louis Marsh from Zero Gun Violence, Evelyn Fox, a mother who has lost a loved one due to gun violence, Mahad Youssef and his team from Medenta, Jean-Luc Rampal, who is a young person working with youth in this area, Muna Ali, Fatima Adam, Arlene Wallace, Shamso Elmai, Idel Hussein, Fazia Duail, and I also have to thank Likoa Nakala, who I work with very closely in my riding of Scarborough-Guildwood. Please welcome them. I want to start by stating that every single elected member of provincial parliament must work together to fight this horrific destruction of our neighbourhoods and our streets. We must do all that we can to solve this complex and difficult challenge. The gun violence plaguing our neighbourhoods must stop, and this is not just a Toronto issue. It is a growing problem in many communities across this province, in Hamilton, in Peel, Durham, York Region, and many others. Meeting with family members of victims in recent weeks has underscored for me the importance of taking action to stop the escalating occurrence of gun violence. This has been something that has been very, very evident. It is creating havoc on our streets and in our neighbourhoods. This issue was brought to me by one of my constituents, Mr. Majid Bala, after two young people were shot in my riding last May, one of them succumbing to his injuries. Immediately following the 2018 election, he said to me, "What are we going to do about handguns? Why are there so many handguns, and where are they coming from? And what can we do to stop this?" I started to search for ways that we could quell this problem, and sadly, the more that I looked, the more prevalent this issue became. Toronto and many communities in Ontario is seeing a rise in gun violence. I hear stories of how gun violence deeply damages our communities. I hear it from mothers, from fathers, from grandparents, from business owners, from faith leaders of all creeds and denominations. Like so many of them, I am tired of hearing about the horrific, tragic shootings on our streets. And I do not want our children growing up in a city where schoolyard conversations about their summer vacation stems around trips to the emergency rooms because gunshot wounds have ravaged their bodies, or funerals of slain family members. I do not want this issue to become normalized in our communities. Enough is enough. Last August, I introduced a bill in the Ontario legislature that, if passed, would give municipalities power to ban the sale of ammunition within their borders. This is a simple bill, but it could make a difference. This is exactly what the Mayor of Toronto and City Council have asked the province for in response to the shootings that are causing havoc in Toronto's streets. City Hall would be able to make it illegal to sell gun ammunition in Toronto, and the bill would give all municipalities the tool to do so should their councils wish to. Bill 30 is an act to amend the Ammunition Regulation Act 1994 with respect to the sale of handgun ammunition. And if passed, the act is amended by adding a number of sections. Optional restriction, resale of handgun ammunition. It addresses the online component of ammunition sales as well. And there are strict fines applied for a person who contravenes the act. If found guilty on the first offense, they would be facing fines of up to $50,000. For a second offense, the fines go to $75,000. In order to move forward in an effective way, Premier Ford and the Progressive Conservative government should support this bill today. There's no reason that you shouldn't support it. Gun violence in Toronto has risen in 2018 with shooting deaths of up to 70% from 2007, with 319 shootings this year alone and 83 homicides as of last night. I was with the MPP from Scarborough-Agincourt in his community as people walked around stunned at the level of violence that had just erupted in broad daylight across the street, directly across the street from an elementary school with children as young as in kindergarten, a middle school, and 2 high schools. These schools were either placed on lockdown or hold and secure. As these restrictions were lifted, I saw families pour out of the buildings with their children, and they gripped them even tighter. I asked a father about this. He was holding the hands of 2 little kindergarten girls, and he says, yes, I'm holding them tighter this evening. The rate of gun violence and the crime that has arisen in Toronto over the last 4 years is on the rise. This week, I visited the Cedarbrook Lunch Program in my riding of Scarborough-Guildwood. This program takes place once a week during the lunch hour and is a chance for local high school students to mingle, to eat lunch, and to engage with outreach workers in a safe environment. The topic of conversation that I was having with these students was about gun violence and handguns. We discussed how they felt about gun violence, why young people feel the need to arm themselves, and how it affects them, and how they believe that gun violence can be ended. One young woman actually said she wishes that handguns were never invented. There were many more powerful statements and points made by the students. A number of students felt that social media was a factor. A student mentioned that the problem begins on social media, and then it makes its way into reality. Another key point made during this discussion was that they feel the need to arm themselves because the streets are not safe and that they need protection. Gun violence has this domino effect in our communities. Imagine that, a young person who feels that they need protection to walk in the streets. There are simply too many guns on the streets, and their lives are at risk. A student leader with the Cedarbrook Lunch Program, she opened up to me about her fears. She says, I'm scared to even have my own siblings walk outside or go to school, even though it's just right there. She feels Bill 30 needs to be enforced right now. As legislators, we have the ability to act now. And I want to be frank, and I want to be open in our debate today. I want to be honest about what you feel can solve this problem. This is my solution. And maybe it's a small solution, but even stopping one bullet is worth it in the lives of our families that are affected. We cannot keep waiting. We need to act now. Things are only getting worse, and there is much work that we need to do. Allowing municipalities plagued by gun violence to ban the sale of handgun ammunition is a start. I've spoken to children who have lost family members, who live in buildings where shootings have occurred, and when I ask them if banning handgun ammo would make a difference, they look at me as if it's a ridiculous question, and they say, of course it would. They tell me, cut off the supply source that will make ammunition less available. If the bill were to go and become law, the black market will lose secure access and their source. End off the problem. Cut it down at the source. The bill needs to be enforced right now. The voice of our young people. You can feel the immediacy in their response. These students are tired of living in fear, of not being able to take the bus to school because of gang activity. Parents and teachers are also feeling this fear. The effects of gun violence are immediate and prevalent. We need legislation that acts just as quickly because our kids are getting shot. And in the vast majority of these shootings, it's a handgun that is at the other end of that gunfire. The government's decision to put more money into policing is not going to solve the problem. We need to limit the access of handguns so that communities are safer, and we need to stop the problem at the source. We need to start taking real measures to reduce gun violence in our cities. In 2008, the review of the Roots of Youth Violence report, which was written by Liberal MPP Alvin Curling and Justice Roy McMurtry, painstakingly detailed the links between limited social and economic opportunity and gun violence. Investments in youth training and employment, mental health supports, and increasing post-secondary access are all ways that we can address the issue, the root issue of gun violence. There's also the notion that criminals don't buy guns legally, and therefore eliminating the legal purchase of ammunition won't affect a thing. We also place blame on the United States, claiming that the majority of weapons are smuggled in over our borders. We know that illegal firearm sales are part of this issue, just as smuggling firearms over the border is an issue. But guns and ammunition purchased legally are also finding their way into these incidences of horrific crimes. Reducing the flow of handguns and ammunition will also help to protect our police, who serve and protect all of us. They also want to see this flow stemmed as well. These guns end up on the streets where they inflict crime and horror on some of the most vulnerable. We also know that gun violence affects the public health as well, in cases of suicide and domestic abuse. People deserve to feel safe in their communities. Restricting the availability and sale of handgun ammunition will have a productive and meaningful result on individuals and communities who presently don't feel safe. Thank you, Speaker.